Everybody's measuring AI by how many hours it saves them. Kristina Kaganer thinks they're all measuring the wrong thing. She'd know. She's a psychology major who got tired of engineers saying things couldn't be done. So she learned to code and did them herself. 15 years buying marketing tech at the big holding companies. Then her toddler got a toy. She poked at the API. And 2 weeks later, she'd shipped an actual company. 5 years ago, she told the e-commerce industry to cut the crap, profitably. Now she's telling the AI industry the same thing. Buyer, builder, mom, menace to anyone who ever said, that's not technically possible. This is the Adodat Show, and she did not ask permission to be here.
Welcome to the Yoto Show. My guest today is Kristina Kaganer, CPTO at Navigator and founder of Wayfable. Kristina spent 15 years as the buyer of your marketing technology at Coty, InBev, API and ElevenLabs, and Publicis. She learned to code. She now builds MCP servers, his production software, and created a consumer product in 2 weeks because her toddler got a toy with an exposed API. We're going to get into that. She also studied psychology and thinks that best marketing AI would be built by behavioral scientists, not by computer scientists. And 5 years ago, she told the e-commerce industry to cut the crap. Kristina, first off, let's find out if the industry actually listened to you. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me today.
So everyone in the industry is measuring AI by hours saved and efficiency gains. You are saying they're measuring the wrong thing. AI is not about automation. It's completely about understanding, access to knowledge that you could not reach before. That's a different framing than I've heard before. Can you walk me through what you mean? Because knowledge and understanding are words that, frankly, could mean anything. What does knowledge as the product look in a real marketing stack?
Well, that's a great question. So I think there's a couple of points. When we talk about pure automation, that involves not only understanding the end-to-end process, but also having full confidence that the process is the right one. And I think many of us in marketing don't necessarily have confidence that the processes we follow are the right ones versus the ones that we've always done. So the question that I ask everyone that I ever work with is, if you were to do this 100 times over, would you be happy with the outcome? Because if the answer is no, automation is already not the right solution to your problem.
Right. Your thesis is AI exposes how messy your data is. And this is not the first person I've heard say this. And the brands winning with AI did the boring data work already 5 years ago. You said that the plumbing matters. And 5 years at Publicis, you said that there were all these years where the people sat in ivory towers talking about how complex data is, but the power is democratizing the data. Same thesis, but evolved. How has data hygiene gotten better since you were at Publicis?
I'm not sure it has. I think data hygiene is a broad statement. I think the tools for data hygiene have gotten much better. I had the privilege of being on a panel with Snowflake at ATS this year and talking about the idea of the composable marketing stack, which is super critical for us, not just in terms of data hygiene, but also in terms of AI utilization. If you asked me 5 years ago how I would build a tech stack, it would be an incredibly monolithic platform with heavy infrastructure investment, and I would need a CFO to sign off on millions of dollars in order for it to have impact. The reality is that technology has come so much further that I can spin one of these up in my office, in my living room, wherever it is. I can experiment with data sets in ways that I've never been able to experiment before. And perhaps most importantly, I can bring context and knowledge through conversational interfaces like LLMs in ways that I would have had to engage with experts 5 years ago. So the technology is fundamentally the same, but the access to that technology has completely revolutionized the way that people think about building products, shipping products, and ultimately solving problems.
So you've been at 3 large companies. I have a question. Were their data stacks ready for AI? Or do you think that most Fortune 500 companies have messy data, as you said it?
I think it depends. The thing with being at a big company is data serves different purposes for different people. I worked at a large manufacturer. If you look at my CV, you could probably infer which one I'm speaking about. But our revenue data wasn't piped into any of our actual operational data. So my team spent quite literally weeks doing nothing besides matching sales to cost of goods. And when we talk about 5 years ago, the thesis I had of cut the crap, How do you know if
Right.
you're profitable if you don't know what you're spending?
So your crazy opinion is also, as we mentioned before, the AI were built by people from psychology, behavioral economics, and media strategy, but not computer science. That's obviously a direct challenge to every engineering-led AI startup. Explain why a psychologist builds a better recommendation engine than a machine learning engineer. And I want to note, you also learned to code. You built your own MCP server. You're a developer, but you started in psychology.
I'm not saying better. I'm saying different. I think one of the things, and this is where my statement on ivory tower comes into play, one of the things that technical people always forget is that it's 100% of their job to do what they talk about. It's 2% of someone else's. A psychologist is trained to lead with empathy, to lead with understanding, to create a shared language. So while the tech stack might be equally as good or perhaps better of what a computer scientist can build, the ability to answer a person's problems and challenges is going to be inherently closer because their fundamental understanding is much, much better.
So you also conceived Publicis Warehouse, award-winning clean room solution. You led an NLP tool through 210% revenue growth, and you delivered a marketplace in 3 weeks during COVID. Those are not theoretical achievements. Those are product ships. So what's the common thread here? What makes you really good at shipping products?
I'm ruthless.
If last touch attribution worked, your waiter would get full credit for the meal. We make sure the chef gets credit too. Incremental.
I don't know. I think it's what makes me good at shipping products is I fundamentally believe the outcome is the most important thing.
Right.
You know, I say to my teams all the time, we don't give out participation trophies. You don't get a gold medal just for showing up. You get a gold medal for doing the work. You get a gold medal for helping your colleagues. You get a gold medal for getting to the finish line. I think that's a big part of, why my current work, the ethos really speaks to me. I work for someone who's a ex-Olympian athlete, and we always talk about that training mentality and training people in the job, training people on a day-to-day basis, giving them the opportunity and the tools to show up, but really holding them accountable to the outcomes. And that's what I've done my entire career. I haven't said, give me 6 months and maybe I'll give you something cool. I started with the end goal, and I didn't stop until I could reach it.
So 5 years at Publicis Commerce, you did a talk called E-commerce to cut the crap, CRAP, can't realize any profit. You argue that brands should set their own bottom line profitability like Amazon does, focus on shopper journey over the brand journey, and stop chasing top line revenue without profitability. 5 years later, did the industry listen? Are brands still growing businesses that they can't scale?
That's a great question. I think retail media has forced the conversation to evolve a lot faster than I thought it would have, which is brilliant. Retail media has forced everyone to start talking about fragmentation. I gave the example to someone yesterday around the US and last mile delivery platforms like DoorDash, for example. One of the reasons why these platforms have been so universally successful in taking off is that they allow access and penetration to new customers that are not already shopping those retailers. Equally, they're already bringing customers that are shopping those retailers, right? Kroger has their own e-commerce platform, but they also are on these last mile delivery platforms. And so the challenge of fragmentation has forced the industry to essentially come together and look at not just ROAS, which is what the primary metric was 5 years ago for every brand, but also incrementality. And that's a big part of what I've spent the last 3 years doing, is talking to brands about how to drive true incrementality through their digital assets instead of just relying on customers who are already going to convert and coming to their marketplace.
In the talk, you said less clients have a crap number than you would think. Refusing a percentage, but applied it's really low. 5 years later, you think that percentage improved? Do more brands have profitability floor in e-commerce? Because honestly, the DC reckoning has happening. Zipper ended, unprofitable growth stopped being fundable, and did the market force the brands to cut the crap, or did your advice help?
I think it depends on the brand. There are always going to be channels that are loss leaders and that focus on top line growth rather than bottom line profitability. I think what retail media has again done a really nice job over in the last 5 years, and I'm really impressed with how far marketers have come in this space, is forcing everyone to really scrutinize those numbers and to start getting to a true cost of goods, to start getting to, a true value of a JBP. So if I'm committing 5 million, what am I getting back for that 5 million? Whereas previously, a lot of those conversations were just around incremental growth year on year in terms of revenue. and they didn't actually look at the bottom line that was going to be delivered back into the P&L. And that was kind of what I built the last year of my career at Coty around, is specifically helping our markets restructure around that bottom line.
You also mentioned the shopper journey was more important than the brand journey. Does the AI right now make the shopper journey more navigatable, or more chaotic?
Both. I think we have a very different lens as an industry than the general consumer. The reality is that AI adoption is not nearly as high as you would think it is across the Gen Pop. I think there's still...
I just did a report that 90% of the people say they're using AI, but it's only around 8 to 10%.
Yeah, and there's significant distribution patterns. Like, for example, males in white collar work tend to use it significantly more than females in white collar work. So there's there's a lot of nuance in who's actually using these AI, but the reality is that a lot of consumers aren't ready for the conversational interface, and they're not ready to have an open-ended shopper journey. So I think for some consumers, when you're coming in pointed, you're researching, you're trying to get information, AI is a brilliant path to purchase. For others, like when you're going in and you're shopping for a Diet Coke can, which is my favorite thing to shop for online, ironically, is really hard to get to a deterministic answer and really hard to get to a deterministic purchase pattern. And I just know I want a 30 pack. I want it delivered consistently, and subscribe and save and one click add to cart is still going to be the path forward for me.
So final question on this. Your 2020 self said e-commerce should cut the crap. Your 2026 self says AI is about knowledge and automation. Your 2026 self also builds MCP servers and ships code. Would your 2020 self, and I'm sorry, this is complex, recognize you right now? Because the VP of product developed Publicis Commerce and the CPTO builds product code seem like completely two different people.
Tell me more. Why do they seem like two different people? That is the most provocative and interesting statement I've gotten in a while about myself.
Developer, product strategist, maybe. I don't know.
I learned to code in about 2018 because I was tired of being told things couldn't be done.
Right.
And
someone called this a permission fallacy on my show. That
really? People
feel they need to have permission to do things. And this guy said he stopped asking permission in the 2000s when he left Ask Men.
Yeah.
He said it was hard to get a job in Wall Street because he was a Muslim from Iran. So he just stopped asking permission. And he just started building companies worth hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have quite that much success with it, but I definitely agree with that. I was constantly being told by technical folks that what I wanted to do...
Is that what made you cross over? Is that how the buyer became the builder?
No. It was a combination of two things. One, I found I had really brilliant ideas and no outlet for them.
Right.
And my outlets were... largely PowerPoints at that point, and it just wasn't fulfilling enough. And so I said, I really think I need some hard skills to turn this into a tangible outcome, going back to really wanting to have something to hold and to touch and to get to an end result. And then during that process, I found that what I was really good at was actually leading a large group of people through a very unknown territory to them, which is perfect for being a product developer, because you essentially need to get a bunch of people who have no idea what the problem statement they're solving for through an entire journey, create shared empathy, and get them to ship something that people actually want to use. And I was able to do that through, shared knowledge and understanding. And I also thought it was so fun. It was like the most fun I had ever had in my career, because you got to move fast, break things. You didn't ask for permission, exactly what we talked about. I truly had a fail fast culture in my team, and I just never wanted to leave the tech world after that. When I got to Publicis, I found that same mentality worked really, really well for operations as well. And I kept going with building things, building frameworks, building trainings, building processes, building educational programs. Now what I do in my role at Navigator is I combine those two. So I not only lead the product and engineering team, but I also lead our paid media team and our ad ops team. And I basically try to look at what the end-to-end media process should look like, and what role does technology play, what role does education play, what role does AI and automation play. And we try to move fast and we try to break things, but we also really just try to solve problems and create shared empathy and make everyone's day a little bit better.
So if one of the most interesting parts of your story was your son got a Yoto, I had to look up what that was. It's a little media player that doesn't have a camera and all the other stuff, but you still found an exposed API and you built a product in 2 weeks. Can you walk me through those 2 weeks? What is Wayfable? What does it do? And is it a side project, a startup, proof that you can actually ship stuff?
I don't think I need proof that I can ship stuff. I think my background and what I've done speaks for itself. Same as the guest that you talked about, I don't really have much to prove in that space anymore, which is a brilliant place to be. One of the things that when I left Publicis, I really leaned into is kind of this dual identity of I am a professional, but I am also a parent. And I really believe that parents are underutilizing technology. And I'm incredibly passionate about the edtech space, specifically because of my background and, a lot of different things. But Google did this really brilliant study that if you personalize content for children, something that they actually can relate to and something that they're interested in, the absorption of that content is just as good as a private tutor. So if you can imagine what that can do for education in the future, that is amazing. And so I started leaning into this concept of personalization and how do I personalize stories and how do I personalize experiences and how do I make everything feel bespoke to my son. We had a Tony box before that, which is a similar media player, but it uses figurines. And I actually learned AutoCAD and how to 3D print my own figurines. So Yoto was a breath of fresh air because it's just NFC cards, but children's technology has come a really far way. And so what I wanted to do was to bring that power of personalization and to create shared experiences. And also, I am an avid vibe coder these days. I vibe code absolutely everything.
Yeah, that's the most interesting part about you, I think, is that how a psychology major, you spent 15 years at media buying, and then suddenly you're a coder. What is the learning curve on this? Because you have developed, it says 3 MCP servers at Navigator. For those who don't know, and everyone should know, MCP is the Model Context Protocol. It's a standard for connecting AI models to external tools and data. What is this learning curve like?
Intense. I don't know. What I'm really good at is solution architecture, and I think AI is perfect for that because I don't need to know the exact syntax, but I do need to understand the structure and I need to understand how to build everything, which is exactly what Wayfable is. I don't know what it's going to turn into, whether it's going to be a real full-fledged company. What I'm using it for right now is an experiment on how fast you can grow with pure organic marketing. So I don't want to put any ad dollars behind it. I want to use SEO in 2026. I want to use problem statements. I want to lean a lot into the parents' forums and boards. I also moderate a community of about 1,800 parents in Southeast London. So I want to lean into the network that I have there. Not just me, the 20 of us, but I want to lean into the network that I have there. And what I really want to do is exactly what I talked about in the Cut the Crap podcast of democratizing access to data. I want to democratize access to knowledge. And I want to create meaningful experiences that parents can share with their kids without them having to go out and learning to code and record their own voice and all of this good stuff. We also have the added benefit of, like, as a household, we've just completely become AI native in an insane way. We use AI for pretty much everything. Like, it's how we do all of our childcare scheduling. We have a internal, like, Google Calendar that plugs into Claude that tells us when we need more childcare coverage, when we need less childcare coverage. We use it as a way to divvy up responsibilities. We use it as a way to even, like, keep grocery lists and meal plans going. And I had a startup idea that I was working on around that, but the speed of LLM development significantly outpaced me. So there's, I think, so much power, and there's so much that can be done in just creating better experiences for people. And that's what Wayfable is. It's a way for you to create a better experience, a personalized story that you can share with someone you love every single night about something that means a lot or they're particularly scared about.
So one of the interesting points that you made is you said that the system is not designed to keep women in technology and ad tech in particular. As much as 60,000, I want to say again, 60,000 women exit UK tech roles every year. You're obviously a woman in a CPTO role, building production code, raising a toddler. Was the infrastructure there for you, or did you just have to build it yourself?
I absolutely had to build it myself. I talk about this very openly and very publicly. I live in Zone 2 London. I have no family anywhere nearby.
Right.
All of my
Most of your family's in Ukraine?
Most of my family's in the States now.
Okay.
But I have no family anywhere close by. All of my childcare is paid for. And I built my own village. That's why I moderate this community. That's why I do these things, because it was incredibly important for me, not just to build support for others, but to find support for myself through that. And I feel really fortunate and really lucky. My son started school, which school here in the UK, like it's preschool nursery type thing that he just started last week. And it only runs from 9 to 9:15 to 3:15. And if you can imagine, there are very few jobs that allow you to work 9:15 to 3:15, right? And even if you do get flexible working, making those hours up is utterly insane. And I felt really, really fortunate that when I had to make this decision, I already had an infrastructure that I had completely built myself and a support network of other people around me that can help me through that, which are, yes, paid childcare, but also friends and just people that I've created through this community of trying to make a better life for myself and my family.
So do you think being a mother who codes changes how you think about products? Because the Wayfable origin story is literally, I'm a mom, my kid got a toy, I found an API and I built a product. That is a product instinct that would only come from parenting.
It's a product instinct that would come from lived experience. So I do think my lived experience absolutely changes the way I behave, which is probably the psychologist in me speaking, right?
Right. So you also said, I know which marketing tech actually works and which dies in the messy middle between the demo and the P&L. That's 15 years of buyer scar tissue talking. What percentage of marketing technology dies in the messy middle, and what killed it?
I mean, I'm not going to throw shade on an industry right here, but there are a lot of buzzwords that we've used over the years that nobody mentions or talks about anymore, right? So I think it's important to remember that what was once the hottest thing oftentimes is the thing that we throw tomatoes at. Yeah, I don't have to go very far, but like, not my personal opinion. These opinions are not my own, but you've seen all of the controversy around programmatic and the trade desk recently and everything like that, right?
Right.
I was in the industry when Trade Desk entered, and I remembered the exact solution that they were trying to bring to brands and to advertisers, which is the exact transparency that they're being scrutinized around right now. So I think it's really, really important that the narrative evolves, and the messy middle basically comes from products not living up to the promises that they make.
So moving on, I want to throw you on a desert island. Your son you brought, Francis Malma. He's Argentinian chef who built his career around cooking with fire remote places. Makes sense. Andrew Diaz-Twine, the only 2-time Survivor winner, again, makes sense. Scott Brinkner, which doesn't make sense, who mapped the entire bartech landscape. And one of your mom's friends, which you openly called cheating because their kid would come too, giving the toddlers something to play with while the adults build a shelter. That is the most strategically optimized desert answer I've ever seen. Can you walk me through it?
Yeah, I really love good food. So I think if I'm going to be on this desert island, I would at least like to enjoy the crickets, but I have to eat.
Right. Hopefully, he's Argentina. Hopefully it's not other people. It's not a soccer team. That's a reference that maybe nobody will get.
Or maybe just like awkwardly laugh even if they get it, because what are we going to say there? But yes.
Yeah. It's eating people for those who don't know.
Is this the first episode where you've openly mentioned cannibalism? Are you able to?
No, I've actually mentioned Argentinian soccer team like about a month ago.
Oh, you need to catch up.
Because we do desert island, people get stuck. They're trying to figure out what they're going to eat. We're at Scott Brinkner or Sandra.
So only 2-time Survivor winner. So like obviously survival skills, but also
right.
When I was researching, and by the way, I don't really watch Survivor, so I don't know much about it.
I've never seen it.
Apparently, she is like one of the only contestants that's ever built like her own social structures in order to actually make it off the island, like full on social structures. Like it wasn't just, I'm going to be really good at these really tactical things. It was like, I'm going to completely create my own mini society here, which obviously feels like a skill that is going to be really needed if you don't know when you're getting off that island.
Is Sandra your spirit animal for Offic politics? Because she sounds a lot like you. Okay, she navigates limited resources. I apologize. It's her. You're a CPTO who manages teams, budgets, and stakeholders.
Maybe. I never thought of my day job as Survivor, but maybe.
And Scott Brinkner, he created the MarTech landscape graphic that started with a few hundred companies and now, of course, has thousands. You want someone who thinks in systems and hold conversations. What would you and Scott talk about? While you're not looking for water or food, let's say.
Yeah, well, I think the toddlers will probably find all the food they can and eat it all before they bring it back. But yeah, it's very cliche to say, but I genuinely love talking about our industry. It's all I've ever really done is advertising and marketing. It almost feels like it's a part of my DNA. And someone who has as much like breadth, not just depth, but breadth of the industry, I feel like is someone that I'm going to be able to hold a conversation with for quite a while, which is going to be really, really important for me because I don't want that part of my brain to atrophy. I genuinely, it's really funny when you asked, is Wayfable a side project, a side hustle? Is it a real thing? I don't know because I can't ever see myself walking away from advertising in totality.
Right.
It is genuinely something that I believe is really important to create human connection, to generate spend, not just for the brands, but also for the consumers, to be able to introduce them to products that they might never know about. And I do see myself kind of jumping into different territories. I would love to one day work with more challenger brands, which is probably one of the reasons why I was drawn to Navigator. But
Right.
someone like Scott Brinker understands the power of all these different MarTech systems that, brands that don't have billions in ad spend can take advantage of every year.
So you noted that your superpower is being in two places at once. Let's be honest, your CPO at Navigator, you're building Wayfable, you a present for a dollar who thinks train spotting is a normal weekend activity. The constraint is time and physical presence. How do you manage? Because being at two places at once is not actually a superpower, which it sounds like your daily life.
Yeah. How do I manage? Someone a while back told me that being like a very engaged parent is always feeling guilty about something.
I have more than a few kids, so yeah, I get that.
I can't say I completely let go of that guilt, but I've just accepted that, I'm never going to be 100% present 100% of the time anywhere where I need to be. The key is for me making sure that I'm in control of the moments where I'm present and the moments where I'm not. It's been a really big part, but like, for example, my son absolutely loves music.
Right.
And where we live, there's a music school that happens to do ukulele lessons for 3-year-olds.
My 90-year-old mother is learning ukulele, so that's funny.
Well, she can jam with Max. I think I brought home the sheet music tonight. And it's really difficult because these ukulele lessons are 4 o'clock, right? So school ends at 3:15. Ukulele's at 4. I'm doing what I can, but like realistically, I still have a job to manage and all of this stuff. I today had to accept the fact that in the middle of whatever I was doing at work, which was quite important at that particular moment, I needed to shut my laptop for 15 minutes, run to the music school, get him into that class. Then I could pick up what I was doing next, get him a sandwich, run home, do whatever I needed to do, say goodnight to him, and then log back on to do this podcast. And there are parts of me where, if we had this conversation maybe 2 years ago or when I was just returning and just trying to figure out how to balance it all, I would have felt so bad because he asked me to do bedtime tonight and I really wanted to do bedtime tonight. But I remember that in the context of today, I was able to give him what he really loves. I was able to connect with him over that sandwich and share a meal and have a conversation about his day. I remember that he knows that I'm going to be here in the morning when he wakes up, and those are the things that matter. And so, yeah, it might suck and I might feel a bit guilty that we're sitting here talking about how much I love building things while, he's in the other room asking for me. But at the same time, it's an important reality of just being a well-rounded individual, not just a parent. You can never truly be two places at once. And you have to start prioritizing and being ruthless in where you are, what you do, and ultimately the outcomes that you want to accomplish. And whether that's, being 100% present and leaving work to be present for your children because that's what's important to you, that's totally fair and I totally support that. Or whether it's what I'm trying to do, which is build in multiple different places at the same exact time, build at home, build at work, build in my community, that's also totally fair.
Does your toddler know what an MCP server is?
My toddler does have a Lift the Flap book about AI. It's great.
Really?
Yes.
When will he be deploying APIs? Kindergarten or sooner?
I'm not sure. He told me his laptop was better than mine today, so he might be working. He might be working on it. Yeah, we do talk a lot about not just artificial intelligence, but computers and why we don't really do a lot of screen time as a family, which is ironic, I know. But we talk a lot about why it's important to be discerning in the content that we consume and things like that. And we try to do that in a very age-appropriate way. And I think AI is going to be a big part of that because that's a topic of conversation very, very often. We don't want to expose him to AI earlier than we need to, but equally we recognize what a powerful tool it could be in his education.
So your Yoda answer was not a person, it was a philosophy. Find the people in the room who you like spending with and learn. The good ideas will flow. Chemistry is a forcing function for speed and quality. It's an unusual Yoda answer because it's about how to work, not what to work on. Do you think that chemistry is more important than strategy?
I think chemistry is a part of strategy. I think chemistry is absolutely a part of company culture. If you have a terrible culture, it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. You're never going to get to the end result because people don't want to show up. They don't have that conviction. And when we talk about being a builder, and by the way, there are roles that don't require you to be a builder, and
right.
That is a completely different space. But I am a builder. I am a builder by nature. And when you want to be a builder, you have to have the people in the room who have your back because inevitably the floor is going to break under you at some point. And you need to trust that these people are going to catch you.
So how do you decide what nut to build? You have train spotting weekends with a toddler. You build Wayfable because of Toyota exposed API. You develop an MCP servers where I'm running product strategy. The constraint, again, is time and physical presence. So what aren't you building? How do you decide that?
Well, one, I think the vibe coding, the reason I love vibe coding is because you get to a minimum viable product so quickly. So I can't say that I decide what not to build based on how much work it would take, which is probably how I would have looked at it in the past. I decide what not to build based on how passionate I am about it. Wayfable was a really interesting one for me. The reason why I actually became super passionate about voice in general is I don't know if you know ElevenLabs at all, the voice clone startup. So they do a startup program where they give out about 1 million tokens to startups.
Okay.
Wayfable wasn't eligible for that because it's not targeted towards kids, but as part of that, they did a Yoto startup program and they gave basically a bunch of tokens out and they let parents go online and create their own apps. Not surprisingly, the Yoto marketplace had like a total of 10, 15 apps. Like it wasn't very big at all, right? There weren't a lot of parents creating a lot of things for this media player. And I looked at what they were creating and what I really felt was a huge gap was this personalization piece. And this personalization piece is something that I have found really important in kind of my parenting journey. Early in my son's life, I traveled a lot. I used to make sure he always had a letter for me to open, even when he was like 6 months old, a letter for me to open every day about where I was and what I was doing and something that made him feel like he was a part of me. Even now with him going to school, we talk a lot about, we read this lovely little book called The Invisible String, which is we talk a lot about physical presence versus emotional presence and how you don't need to be physically close to someone to feel really, really connected. And I just didn't see anything in that Yoto marketplace that emphasized the connection of sharing a story together. And for me and my son, stories are one of the things that we love the most. I speak Russian and Ukrainian. My partner does not. And those stories have been a really big way of me passing down culture and me creating a shared language and understanding, knowing that my son might never get to see Ukraine. But I want him to know that this is where he comes from and this is his heritage and the stories and all of those really great things. So I felt super, super passionate about letting people share their culture, sharing their stories, sharing their heritage in a way that was deeply personal and meaningful. And AI just allowed you to do that with so much more scale than ever before at such a low cost in a way where you could not just build a consumer product, but build a consumer product in a way that people could actually afford it. It's priced at £7 a month. That's like $9 and you can generate basically 20 stories for that cost.
So you also said the home run for this show would be opening 10 conversations with brand ed tech platforms. That's a business development goal. You're building something between Navigator, Wayfable, and this interview. What are you trying to create? I got to be honest, it seems like you're the product. Buyer turned builder, psychology meets engineering, ships fast, thinks deeply and differently. Is that intentional?
Differently, definitely differently. Yeah, I'm definitely not for sale, but I do think that what I'm building at Navigator is something that's net new. It's a commerce media network, and there are commerce media platforms, but there aren't really commerce media networks that start with the idea of following every traveler and every person through their entire journey. So I have to be a little bit of the product. When I speak to these brands, they have to believe in what I'm doing. And I spoke to someone today who was a colleague of mine at Publicis who's doing his own agency now, asking him for advice because I've never really done this BD side of things. I've never needed to. I've always been the buyer, as you saw.
Right.
And I asked him, how do you get around the fact that the context of your relationships is changing so significantly, right? For so many of these people, they've either been colleagues for me or they've been vendors. And now I'm effectively coming in and flipping the table and asking them to believe in me and believe in what I'm building. He gave me one of the most brilliant answers ever, which is you just really got to believe in what you're building. And I really believe in what I'm building. I believe in the infrastructure I'm creating. I believe in the time I spend setting all of this up. I believe in the team that I'm growing. And I really just have so much conviction for the future of where we're taking commerce media to make it not just a execution platform, but truly a retail media platform where brands can connect with travelers no matter where they are in their journey and no matter how they're traveling.
Rapid fire questions. Best product you've ever bought as a buyer that actually delivered?
Tech product or just any product?
Any product.
You did promise you were going to edit out my thinking.
Yeah, AI does it actually.
AI does it. That's great.
Yeah, it has a little button. It's remove pauses and and stuff like that.
Probably, in terms of work, it's probably some kind of clean room solution. I've always been super, super impressed with clean rooms. In terms of
what about worst product that died in the messy middle, as you call it?
I feel guilty saying this. I definitely didn't see the value from a DMP that I had hoped I would see back in the day.
The most overrated thing in marketing AI?
Automation.
Underrated?
Capability.
What is your toddler's favorite train?
So we actually have this conversation every Saturday where we re-rank them.
Right.
Currently, it is the Overground train.
Right.
But
What's that?
So we live in London. The Overground train is basically the Overground with the orange doors.
Right.
But the most consistent one that he usually picks is the Southeastern that runs to the coast of England because he loves the seaside.
Last, before we go, one sentence you want the audience to remember.
One sentence is very hard for me. I am a verbose person.
Maybe that's the sentence.
My parting thought would be AI makes it harder to hide behind the buzzwords. So truly know what you're trying to do before you start doing it.
Kristina, thank you. 5 years ago, you told the e-commerce industry to cut the crap. Today, you're telling the AI industry that automation is the wrong metric, knowledge is a real product, and the plumbing always mattered. You studied psychology, spent 15 years in buying technology, learned to code, and build a product in 2 weeks because your toddler toy wasn't working right. If that's not the most 2026 origin story in advertising, I do not know what is.
That's the show. Kristina Kaganer, psychology major, 15-year buyer, 2-week builder, and proof that the most dangerous person in any room is the one who stopped asking permission. 5 years ago, she told e-commerce to cut the crap. Today, she told the AI industry that automation is the wrong metric. Knowledge is the real product, and the plumbing always mattered. If that's not the most 2026 origin story in advertising, I don't know what is. Thanks to our sponsors. Troutman Amin, the lawyers who actually read the fine print so you don't have to find out what's in it the hard way, in a deposition. And Incremental LLP, because in an industry that spent a decade confusing revenue with profit, somebody had to put incremental right there in the name and mean it. Thanks for listening. If something in here made you rethink your stack, your team, or your toddler's toys, do the thing. Subscribe, leave a review, tell one person who needs to hear it. This has been the ADOTAT Show. Go build something and stop asking permission.
So VP somewhere is sweating right now, reading this through their PR team. Hi, Jessica. Tell your boss we said hi. No intimidation, no PR mediation. Hold the line, 'cause baby, we're just warming up. We're the publication of record for the people with the money. That's right, the checkbooks read us. OTAT, and we aren't done. Not even close. We're just getting started. Buckle up. Getting started. No intimidation whatsoever. We aren't scared. We are here.